Express LRS 2.0 has been just released. Yes, the Express LRS, the open source firmware for your radio link that is based on the LoRa compatible chipset 2.0 is finally out. It happened only today, only a few hours, and I took a quick look at what is offered in the Express LRS 2.0 and what are the major features that should make you think about updating to the 2.0. Bear in mind, it's not a full list, those are only features I thought are especially worth taking a look at. First of all, it's the updated and greatly improved telemetry, which right now not only supports the iNav Vario sensor, but also works with the Yapu telemetry screen, and what's kinda important, offers you something that is Telemetry Boost. This means when the Express LRS is in the Telemetry Boost, the telemetry frames are extended much more often, and this helps to set up beta flight via the Express LRS. Why? Because the data, two-directional data between the flight controller and your radio and the Lua script running your radio are just exchanged much faster, much often. There finally is a dynamic power for the Express LRS. That means that Express LRS right now has the ability to scale the output power depending on the data reported by the telemetry downlink. If the telemetry downlink reports that the receiver is receiving the data from the transmitter, absolutely no problem. That means that most probably if the transmitter would lower slightly the power, it would also work just fine. But the very moment that the receiver starts to report via the telemetry that the RSSI is low or the link quality is low, that is the sign for the transmitter to increase the output power to ensure that the correct signal will get through to the receiver and you will be able to fly further. It's not really to conserve the energy. Yeah, maybe to some extent it helps with conserving the energy, but it helps to cover one of the problems many of the Express LRS compatible transmitter have, the overheating power amplifier chipset. Usually we have any cooling, and if running on the high output power for too long, this chip can just overheat and destroy itself. Next cool feature, and to be honest one of the most important for the end user feature, is that right now, finally, it is possible to have the channel from 5 up, all the auxiliary channels, to have more than just 2 or 3 positions, because right now the auxiliary channel can be encoded with 7 bits that gives you 128 positions of each of those channels. That means you can use the potentiometers or the sliders on your radio to transfer data from your radio to the flight controller. Of course, it still depends on how you're gonna use it, but right now it is possible to have 128 positions of auxiliary channels. Model match that allows you to have the receiver talk to your radio only when the correct model is enabled. That ensures that when you by accident configured your radio to use with the quad but you connect to the flying wing, you will not get some kind of strange misconfiguration of the whole process, and you can ensure that only a selected model is connected to your model and make sure that the correct model is actually running just like you want this to be running. There will be a lot of sync improvements between transmitter and the receivers, because right now the sync will be happening mostly in the middle of the bandwidth used by the Express LRS, and something that especially fixed wing flyers might like is the ability for the Express LRS receivers to output the PWM. So with the correct hardware you will be able to connect servos directly to your receivers without having this thing to go through the flight controller or crossfire to PWM decoders. And finally, much better improved Lua scripts to set up your Express LRS hardware. I'm Paweł Spychalski, thank you very much for watching and happy flying!